Good evening and welcome to episode 95 of Porterhouse and Teal Live. It's January 20th, 2025, and boy, we are disorganized this evening. Trying to get this going. It's been a very busy day, and it's been a very historic and momentous day here in the United States with the inauguration of the 47th President of the United States, Donald Trump. And it's a day that could not come fast enough for a great many of us. And I suspect there's others who are not exactly all that happy with it. But I hope no matter what their view of the changing of administration for the next 4 years, whatever their thoughts are, I hope they are aligned with making America great again, because that's essentially what Donald Trump is intent on doing. And I think that's what he was voted into office for. And I'm happy about it. I don't know, Rebecca, are you happy about what took place today?
I am. I really enjoyed listening to his speech. Some of it kind of gave me chills. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about that later. That'll be our main main topic for this evening. And I hadn't really even intended on it being that. However, I did have a chance to watch a portion of the festivities this morning, and I thought it would be remiss of us not to actually share our thoughts as it relates to, today and what it means for the United States and the world, really. But I was thinking, let us not forget that it was just 6 months ago when Rebecca and I broadcast episode 71. And in that episode, we talked about the attempted assassination where Donald Trump was shot in the head by a lone gunman. And I find it very odd. And I don't know if anybody else has this sense as well, but it just seems odd to me that it's now 6 months later and we know very little about the shooter and the circumstances surrounding the failure of the Secret Service. And yet we know everything about the suspect in the United Healthcare CEO killing. And we knew that within about 72 hours. We knew where that person went to school and who his friends were and what his manifesto was. And we knew the entire script and bio of this individual who they are alleging has committed this crime. But yet somebody who's actually attempted to kill the president, we know nothing about. And I just find that odd. Don't you find that odd?
I do. I would think that he would kind of take a little more precedence, so to speak, than hearing about somebody else. Our presidents are very important. They hold a very high office. So you would think that you would hear news about what's happened to them, especially if they've been shot at or attempted to be assassinated.
Yeah, I would think it's just odd to me, and it causes me, more speculation about our government and all the things that they're hiding from the American people. And I don't expect to have all of the answers about everything. I mean, they have to withhold information. I mean, that's just part of the nature of the business. But at the same time, I think we're kind of, at least a lot of people are wanting some answers, and it would just be nice to have a little bit more open transparency as it relates to, what's taken place in this instance and in other instances, because this isn't the first time that we've seen violence in this way against one of our political figures. So I don't know. It's interesting.
Honestly, I think it makes them look kind of guilty.
Well, yeah. I mean, it definitely, silence kind of implies something that's trying to be, hidden. And, if there wasn't any blood on anyone's hands, I don't know why you wouldn't want to come forth a little bit more readily. But right. Nonetheless, how are you doing this evening, Rebecca? Do you have anything to talk about and any wisdom that you'd like to share for this week?
This has nothing to do with the election or anything, but okay. Yesterday I had problems in finding my glasses. I thought that I was actually going crazy. I had looked all over the place. I knew where I felt I had them last.
I know where this is going.
Oh,
but
yes.
Anyhow, go ahead.
Yes, you know where this is going. And it was bedtime. And I had finally given up. And where were my glasses? Around my husband's neck.
Right. Yeah. You know how we sometimes put the glasses, hanging on our shirt right there at the neckline. Well, apparently I must have walked into the kitchen and her glasses that she just got, her new prescription glasses, look very much like the ones that I'm wearing tonight. And I must have inadvertently grabbed them and I had them on my neck for, I don't know, an hour or more. And you're looking all over, you're asking me a bunch of questions. And yet you didn't even notice them around my neck. So it makes me wonder, how much do you actually look at me? How much do you actually pay attention to your husband? Or you just look
You had a sweatshirt on. It was covering them up.
Okay.
And I have to say, I do take my glasses off. I do set them down, but I cannot give in to the chain around the neck and the glasses dangling. I just don't. I can't go there quite yet.
Yeah, I hope you don't, because that's not a good look for anyone. But anyhow, good evening, Spags. Good to see you this evening, buddy. And Dean Mullis is in the house. Bill Warner, how are you guys doing? I hope you guys had a great day. I hope you've had a great week. And I can say for myself personally, I feel like I've had a great week, and it's been one. I don't know. It just feels like we're plugging along here, and we've been super busy today. Today was we've been all over the place trying to get things done in order to come and sit down and share some thoughts with you guys. But another thing that I talked about last week, and it was the TikTok thing, right? Mm-hmm. And for many people, this doesn't really matter. And for me, quite honestly, it doesn't really matter. I'm not going to lose sleep over the fact that I don't have TikTok to go on.
I don't know.
No, I have to admit, I liked the platform. I liked it a lot more than Instagram. It seemed to me like a pretty decent little search engine where they had a lot of information on there, both newsworthy and just entertainment wise. And there's a lot of shit on there that was kind of pretty edgy and less censored than it was on the Meta platform and any other similar type platforms, YouTube and otherwise. So I liked the platform for that, and I would pull information there, and I would just search around, and yeah, I probably spent more time there than I should have. It was a waste of time, but we can waste our time doing a lot of different things, and YouTube can be one of those things as well. Mm-hmm. But TikTok, it's interesting because they were talking about how it was going to go away last week, and I was watching a guy.
Did you? I'm going to jump in here. Did you not think for a minute that, hey, maybe it's not going to go away because you were on it?
No, I actually thought something was going to happen. I don't think that it's the final word. I will say that. I think that, Trump's going to come in and do something. And I don't know if he hasn't already signed an executive order to that fact, because I haven't been paying attention to the news. I've been busy doing shit around here all day. So I did think it was going to go away, but it was interesting at the time. I happened to be on TikTok, and I'm watching a guy. He's a lobster. What do you call them? Lobster farmers or whatever.
Well, he cleans the lobsters up and he notches them if they're producing.
Yes.
And then he gives them a treat and throws them back in the ocean.
Yes. That's his jam. And then he cleans the barnacles off of them. His name's Jacob Knowles, and he's up in Maine, and I think he's got millions of followers up in on TikTok. And he was sitting there saying, hey, this is kind of surreal, thinking that TikTok's going to go away. I've made so many connections here, and I've, I'm really going to miss this if in fact this platform goes away. And, I just can't even believe it. And then at that very moment, TikTok for me went dark, and it pulled something up on my phone. I think I took a screenshot of it or whatever, but it was just kind of interesting how that happened at that very moment. And kind of surreal. What do you think?
Well, he almost seemed like he was getting kind of misty-eyed over it. He is kind of fun to watch because some of the lobsters are, they're old and they're still producing. Mm-hmm. What did he say? That one, she was huge, mm-hmm. and she had all these eggs underneath her, and she was like 70 years old or something like that. Oh, yeah. It was crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I like watching that kind of stuff.
So yeah, it's amazing. But anyway, he cleans all the barnacles off, and they might be missing a claw, so he'll stick the treat in the other claw and chuck them back in the ocean.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyhow, I got this thing on my phone right here. You can see that. And it says, sorry, TikTok isn't available right now. A law banning TikTok has been enacted in the US. Unfortunately, that means you can't use TikTok for now. We are fortunate that President Trump has indicated that he will work with us on the solution to reinstate TikTok once he takes office. Please stay tuned. And, if for no other reason, guys, I think that it's it's a shame whenever the government takes voices away from people. Now, again, they may have some underlying national security concern that I'm unaware of, because I'm just a ordinary person without the intel apparatus that they have available to them. So I don't know what they know, but there's 170 million people that now no longer have that platform, and it reminds me very much of what they did with Parler years ago when that was just taken away, and people had to go elsewhere to get information. So just kind of an interesting thing, right?
Yeah. However, I think TikTok has a much larger following, much larger base.
Right.
So I kind of hopes that, and I don't have TikTok. I watch TikTok when he watches TikTok. But I think that they'll come back. Yeah, there'll be something that's gonna.
Yeah, I think they do
come about.
I think they will as well, but I don't know if it's going to be the same or whatever. But again, I'm not losing sleep over it. I just think it's an interesting thing that our government is all about democracy, but they were lockstep. Like, just both sides of the aisle were just like, oh yeah, we'll ban that, no problem. We're all about that. But yet there's Chinese interest all over this fucking country that they are just turning a blind eye to. But somehow this is the biggest national security threat to people's, health and safety here in the United States. But anyhow, we'll talk about the inauguration later. But what I wanted to say, Bill Warner says, colder than a witch's eyebrow. Yeah, that's something that I understand is going around, and I hope everybody's taking the appropriate steps to prepare themselves. We had a pretty nice day here. I would say it was a little chilly this morning. Started out, it was about 34 Fahrenheit this morning. We had a little frost, but it quickly warmed up and into t-shirt weather. And I would say it probably got up somewhere mid 60s Fahrenheit today. Nice sunny day, a little windy, but I understand you guys are dealing with the cold as a witch's eyebrow issue right now. So
there's one good thing that I could say about it being cold early in the morning is when my dog wakes me up and she needs to go to the bathroom, she doesn't like the cold. So she goes out and she comes right back in. Mm-hmm. If it's warm, she goes out and then she kind of looks back at you and then she takes off and doesn't want to listen.
Yeah. The polar vortex, man. That's a big thing. And way I understand it, like 100 million Americans right now are experiencing below average temperatures. And that's a significant number of the American people. And I think it's been reported that temperatures will plummet as much as like 45 degrees below average, and going to affect a great many states, like across 20 states are going to see temperatures that low. And so all of the lower 48 and more than 80% of the population, from what I read, is going to be seeing temperatures drop below freezing.
Yeah.
And ours has dropped below freezing, but it's not nothing like people are experiencing there. And Bill Warner says that it was 6 degrees at 5:30 this morning with the wind chill. And that isn't something that we get here too often, thankfully.
You'd have a hard time dragging me out of bed.
Yeah. This weather event is something that's been forecast well in advance. And just so, as I kind of alluded to in the outset, I hope folks are, that are in these affected areas have been able to take advantage of the early warning and prepare themselves appropriately to keep themselves safe and any livestock or animals that they may need to have protected. Obviously it's not great when temperatures get that low, but I was working in the chicken just yesterday, I guess. And I was aware that this was going to be happening. And I was thinking how lucky we are, how incredibly lucky we are to be living in this time in history. Because could you imagine what it must have been like not having advanced warning of something like this? Right now, we have predictive services from the standpoint of meteorological, the weather, predictive services that can forewarn us of these things, whether it's a hurricane, a tornado, a cold event, a heat wave, a whatever, right? They can't, they don't have earthquakes down yet, and they're not quite good with fire yet. But the other things they can forecast.
At least not in California.
Yeah. And, we rarely see temperatures that are like that, but I have on a couple of occasions seen, single digits. And, what would people think of how many people would be killed right now if this was back in the 1800s or something where they didn't have the ability, right?
A lot. There'd
be a lot of death because there's actually, when things like this happen, people die anyhow. There's elderly people or whatever, and they freeze to death, or you get stuck in your car somewhere or something, and it happens. But I don't know, man.
And they don't have the same type of heating that we have in our homes. And so even if they're in a home, they still would probably freeze to death. Yeah.
Willow Rocks, how are you this evening? Sylvia Gibson, good evening.
Good evening.
Bill Warner says, Ryan Hall, y'all keep me posted. Really good. I'm not sure what that means, Bill. I do know that Ryan Hall's half marathon record that had stood for 18 years just got broken this week by another American, set the record. That was pretty cool. It's like 59 minutes and 17 seconds. Half marathon. That's crazy. That's freaking running 13 miles an hour, man.
That's a gazelle.
That's running faster than 13 miles an hour. Think about that. That's fast. Anyhow. Some of the issues we've had to deal with here personally, that, like when we get temperatures down, is simple stuff. The animal water troughs need to be broken up so that the animals can drink, and any exposed piping and stuff like that need to be covered or insulated. And we do what we can to protect our vulnerable plants. However, I just looked at my potatoes, and they're looking kind of sad because I didn't cover them up. Potatoes are not frost hardy. And I knew that. I should have done something, but the last 2 nights of frost that we've had, they're kind of looking a little sad and wilted. So that may end my growth to my potatoes this year, or this part of the season. But nonetheless.
With the cooler weather, I had to learn a little bit more about having a well than living, say, and having sitting water. But I've been here, Eric's been gone on a fire, and the points have been frozen open. And so anyway, just a learning process of what to do. And
Right. Yeah. Brady, man, here we go with the dad jokes again. I love it. I have a few jokes about unemployed people, but none of them work. Yeah, good one, man. Love it. Yeah, Bill Warner, he thinks that they didn't have cars back in the 1800s, and you're probably correct, man. But just imagine what it would have been like being somebody in that time frame dealing with temperatures that are going to swoop down in something that they didn't see coming. I mean, there's just a massive amount of people killed over that, I would think, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Caught traveling, caught out, hey, we're going
or migrating somewhere.
Exactly.
There used to be, it was on, I believe, 99. I want to say 99 going towards, going north, towards Sacramento, and I might have my highways wrong, but there used to be a gravesite of like a child that froze to death or was ill,
right,
and was there for a long time. I believe it's long since gone, but I remember that as a kid, seeing that on the side of the road. Yeah,
that's something that I would run into on a few times in my career where you'd be out on a fire somewhere and there'd be some Homestead gravesite. And I can recall 3 or 4 times I've seen, underneath an oak tree or something, there'd be this little marble thing, and it's a couple of people or a kid or something like that. And it
Or
was
a
just,
baby.
well, that's what I mean. A
Yeah.
small child. It's like aged 3 months. I remember seeing one like that. And it's like, wow, man, that's insane, but it's just out there somewhere, which, that's the way that people were buried back then. And, so Bill Warner says Ryan Hall is a YouTube channel weatherman who has been doing weather forecasting for the past 14 years. Yeah. Yeah. I like, meteorology kind of interests me. And, I follow a couple of dudes too. I don't think I'm familiar with him, but, I followed a couple of dudes on TikTok. That's now no longer a thing, but, anyhow, and Willow,
At least for the time being.
right. And Willow Rock says she as well follows Ryan Hall. Yeah. Yeah. Some of the other things that I do personally is like cover up my well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I got those moving blankets and stuff, or just whatever.
Or old comforters or quilts. You usually take those from me. And
right. Yeah. If they're all shot out or whatever, I've got a few of those out there where I'll use to cover up things. But yeah, covering up the wells is a big one, covering up the piping and the electrical equipment, because, things freeze up, man. Points freeze up, and it's, it's just not cool to open up the thing in the morning and not have water. But yeah,
Porterhouse.
Some of you guys out there in the Midwest and the South, even, and in the East, and up there and close to Canadian land, North Dakota, Minnesota, Wyoming, Montana. I mean, it gets cold there every year routinely, and you guys probably experience those types of preparations on a much more regular basis. And aside from the basic preps like food, like water, like fuel, what do you guys in the listening audience, either in the live tonight or those that may listen back in the rebroadcast, what do you guys do specifically for cold weather preparations? Can you think of anything that I'm missing, Rebecca? But, here we are in very temperate northern Sacramento Valley that rarely sees temperatures, below about 28.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, you've done pretty good. I think initially when we lived here, like I say, the points would get frozen open on the well, and that was kind of a learning experience, and everything gets wrapped up. And the only other thing is that the water trough, you got to make sure that the floats are not frozen, and you're pretty good about checking those and making sure that the cows have. I would say that I'm probably not that good because I kind of rely on you.
Well, I would say just the biggest thing for everyone who's a preparedness minded person, and thinking about, hey, well, how can I stay less reliant on outside things when there's an emergency, is just to prepare those things that are going to keep you the most comfortable and keep you in your home, in your domicile.
Right. Well,
so that's having food, water, the ability to secure your own energy and heat yourself. What's nice for us is that we have, a wood stove. And I know that a lot of people have wood stoves. Some people don't. And if you're only reliant upon, LPG, natural gas, or electricity, those things can falter, particularly if they're not something that you control. If they're from, coming from an outside source and you're reliant upon a utility to give you that, then, you could be kind of in a bad way if that gets shut off in some way and disrupted. So just make sure that if that's the case, you've got the ability to heat yourself, because one of the biggest things that people are going to have, that's going to cause them to have issue is just hypothermia. And when that thing sets in, man, I mean, it sets in quick,
Right. So it's always good to have extra blankets,
especially in your vehicle. Why? If you're out, you're going to be traveling, have that stuff in your vehicle, and then have it in your home.
Right. And the other thing, we do have a wood stove, but we also close off areas of the house that are not being used, so that heat
Mm-hmm.
is being generated where we need it and not trying to heat up the whole entire place.
Mm-hmm.
So we have the ability to close off essentially
Isolate.
half of our house.
Isolate, the areas in the house which are going to, need to be heated the most. Sylvia Gibson says she had to drip the kitchen faucet. It's 24 degrees right now. And that doesn't seem that cold. I mean, that's cold. Don't get me wrong, but it sounds like they're going to be having temperatures like minus. And I'm thinking that's probably a little more extreme. But that's something that you can do as well, is to run water continually to keep the water so it's not just static in your pipes and it's actually flowing. So allow it to drip a little bit overnight or what have you. Yeah, that's a good idea.
A wood stove's also good because you can cook on top of it.
Right. Heat water, do whatever. That's just such a valuable, backup plan. It's how we primarily heat our house in the wintertime. We also use a little space heater, which uses quite a bit of energy in our room, but that's just to heat our room. We don't feel the need to heat an entire 3,000 square foot home if we're only living in a couple of rooms. So we kind of isolate it that way. The wood stove kind of keeps things ambient. So we're not trying to heat the whole house, but we run that other thing in the bedroom, and that runs off the solar batteries. And
even at that, we run it for a little bit of time, and it's set on a timer so that it goes off. Because once you're in bed and you're covered up and you're warm, you don't necessarily need it to continue to run.
Right. Yeah. Sylvia Gibson says, I have a poultry light over my well and I want some global warming. A poultry light. Yeah, that might work good, huh? Keeping things from freezing for sure. And Skane's girls in the house and HRDs. How are you guys this evening? Hope things are well with you. Let's see. You can start reading some of those and seeing if you can find out what's going on in the chat there. I guess question I have for you, Rebecca, because it is the first of the year, and I know that's something that is an important time of year for a lot of people from the standpoint of resolutions. Do you have any resolutions this year that you are willing to share?
I do not have any resolutions that I would say, if you want to call them resolutions. They're more goals. One of the things that I wanted to do this year was to actually get organized and kind of get it, just for myself, a cookbook that has the different recipes that I've come up with, because a lot of the stuff that we eat, I have to modify to fit within our diet. So instead of recreating every time, it'd be nice to be able to just flip to that page and go, oh yeah, that's what I put in there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one. The other is that to stay fit and in shape.
Mm-hmm.
And I started to cross train. My goal is to get back into that after injuring my arm.
Mm-hmm.
I need to motivate myself and get back in, but to continue to try to keep myself motivated. That's, I guess you could say, as a goal.
Right. Yeah. I don't know if those are all resolutions or those are something that you did, because I think you were talking about that, not like you're going to do that at the first of the year. And typically that's what people do with resolutions is, first of the year.
Right. Well, that's why I said I wouldn't necessarily call them resolutions. I would say they're goals. They're goals that I haven't started.
Right.
But do want to start in this year.
Right.
And stick to and hopefully add to as the year goes on.
Right. Yeah. No, I would never want to discourage anyone who wants to do something to improve themselves. And if resolutions is what is going to, a New Year's resolution is going to be the thing that gets you to do that, then that's fantastic. I don't particularly do resolutions because for me, if it's something that's important to do, I'm going to do it when I decide that it's important, and I don't place an arbitrary date upon that. I don't say, oh, well, I'm going to continue to, do these bad things or do things that I know that I shouldn't do. And then I'll, when I hit January 1st, then that's the day that I'm going to get my act together. I just kind of get to that point where I'm like, I got to do something about this, and I do it. And then I'm not reliant upon some specific date. And it's interesting, the New Year's resolution thing, because so many people do it. And the failure rate, I looked it up, the failure rate is estimated to be around 80%. And only 25% of people stay committed to their resolutions after just 30 days.
Let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think one of the number one resolutions that people set?
Probably smoking or losing weight or quitting drinking or something like that. Probably smoking or having a better diet, I would say.
I would say signing up and going to the gym.
Of course. Well, that's all part of fitness, right?
Right.
So I see that every year. It's what I see every year that I'm at the gym. I say, oh, it's January. And it's going to be a thing for the first 30 days. And then it's going to really start to thin out after that.
Yeah.
It just absolutely does. There's different figures out there, but about 68% of people have never actually achieved their New Year's resolutions. And 91% of people give up on their resolutions, with 23% quitting in the first week. And so, again, that aligns with what I see every year in the gym. So by March, we'll be back to the normal population where, you're not going to have to be looking at machines or looking at weights and saying, oh man, there's all these people over there. And so, it's very common. But anyhow, like I say, if somebody uses a resolution, the New Year's Day to get their act together, then that's great. Because if 80% fail, you know what that means? That means 20% succeed.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to look at that as a success in that sense. Sylvia Gibson says that she stores drinking water, wood for the wood stove, and non-perishable foods. I think those are high on the list, at least for me. Those are definitely high on the energy. Energy, water, and food are the things that are going to be what keeps me in my house and keeps me the most comfortable, so I don't have to leave and go enter into a chaotic situation. And so I think that that's how I view preparedness. What are the things that are going to keep me the most, happy and healthy and able to stay right here while there's people that are down at the gas station trying to figure out, how am I going to get gas? How am I going to get food? How am I going to get water? And that is so reactionary to the events that could unfold at any time. That's how people are. That's why you see people running down to Home Depot and they live in a hurricane zone, but they never thought about having some OSB sheeting stashed somewhere because, hey, we'll worry about that when it happens. Oh, we didn't have enough water, so now we're going to run down and buy pallets of water. Water's free. You can do a lot if you just think about it from being prepared, just mind it a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So good on you, Sylvia.
Yeah, Skeens girl was saying something about water. I think she's got something leaky, and I don't know if it said you weren't going to fix it until after the freezing.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's definitely smart. What's the temperatures like out there for you, Cindy? You're out in Kansas now, so I imagine it's probably pretty frigid. Gas fireplace, Skeens girl, can't afford to run central heat right now. I hear that.
Yeah.
I hear that for sure. Yeah.
I faltered on getting a fire going a couple nights ago, and we had our grandson, so he actually slept in the bed with us,
Mm-hmm.
so we could keep him warm.
Yep. Sylvia says she has a blood disease where it clots when my body temperature falls below normal. Well, I hate to hear that.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound great. I carry an extra shirt when hiking below 20 degrees Fahrenheit because sweat kills. One thing you might want to consider, and I'll put this out there because it's very, very much true, is you want to have layers against your skin that do not retain the moisture. So if you're going to have extra layers in your preps and in your cold weather gear, make sure that it's not cotton, because cotton is a great insulator, but it does not wick moisture away, and it's going to hold that moisture. And then that's going to contribute to your hypothermia. So if you're going to be having base layers in cold weather, make sure that they are wicking material. Something like merino wool, and there's a lot of other fabrics that are synthetic nature or synthetic blends that actually will keep you warm and provide that insulative effect. But the moisture is going to be drawn away from your body, therefore being less likely for you to contract hypothermia. And another thing too, let me mention this, because lightweight gear matters. I'm very much into lightweight gear, not only for backpacking, but running. Anytime you need to be on the move, it's nice to have lightweight gear, because for one, you have to carry it, and two, it's usually much more packable. And so I understand, having some cotton clothes that you throw in a backpack or whatever. Hey, I'm going to put these sweats or whatever in there to keep me warm. And that's going to work if you're sedentary and you can just bundle up. But if you actually have to be on the move, you're going to need clothes, again, that are wicking, because as you move, you're going to start to perspire, and you're going to need to get that moisture away from your skin. And you're going to need to have multiple layers so that you can throw on a base layer, a mid layer, a shell, or some kind of outer covering. And then that interchangeably can be removed as you're being mobile. So, people talk about bug out bags and all this shit, right? About rucking and all this stuff. These are things that, you're not going to hear a lot about, because people don't really know about it. Most people, they know, hey, I'm going to get this bag, I'm going to put a bunch of shit in it. But hey, what's going to happen if I actually have to ruck for any period of time? If I have to get back to my safe space? These are things that if you don't practice and you don't learn, you're going to learn the hard way. So it just kind of helps for me to point that out, because, definitely carrying an extra shirt. I agree with you, Willow, but I wanted to point that out because not all shirts are created equal. Not all fabrics are created equal.
Right. Our hiking clothes that we had were moisture wicking and fast drying. So that was really, especially if we had to cross water, it was amazing how quickly the clothes would actually dry out. Yeah.
And you want to have that kind of stuff if you do have a backpack and you're out moving and stuff. You want to have those pieces of clothing that you need to get to throw on as soon as you stop moving. As soon as you're out moving, you're feeling like, hey, this is pretty good. Blood's going, your body temperature, core temperature's up a little bit, you're perspiring. And then within minutes of you stopping in cool temperatures, if you're not throwing layers on to hold and retain that body heat, it's going to fall so fast. And the next thing your hands, the dexterity in your hands goes. And when that goes, you don't have the ability to even work a zipper. And then you start to panic. You can't even open anything up. Your hands get cold. So it's so important when you're dealing with cold temperatures, especially being out the elements, up in the mountains, out wherever.
Yeah.
Something I know a little bit about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
we kind of learned how important that was when we were climbing in our tent. It was pouring down rain.
Oh yeah, it doesn't take any time at all. People in the South are used to harsh freezes, not continued freezing temps. This old house has no insulation in the floors and plenty of unwanted ventilation. Yeah. Hopefully this isn't a really extended, occurrence for you guys. I don't know. I think it was supposed to last for a week or so, I guess, but. That can start getting kind of demanding on people, because then they start running out of stuff. It makes it hard to travel. The roads get all icy, and it's just not great, So this is when preppers really shine, because, you've been prepping, right? You should have all your preps. You shouldn't have to go anywhere to do anything unless you have to go to work for some reason. So I don't know. Okay. I want you to pay attention to what's going on. So I was going to ask you, Rebecca, what do you have going on in the homestead? You had mentioned some things. I don't know. Do you have anything else on the homestead, that you wanted to mention or,
Well, I'm looking forward to us getting pigs. I think I mentioned that last week, but we don't have them yet,
mhm.
and they're kind of a lot of fun. Plus, we need the meat, and we also have a couple sheep that should be lambing out pretty soon. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah. Man, I tell you, the ram that I have, he's kind of a dick. I came home a couple of weeks ago and he was just being like really aggressive toward the ewes that were in the sheep tractor. And he was running them around and butting at them and like thrashing them pretty good. And so I said, well, that's about enough of that for you, buddy. If you can't cohabitate with these ewes, then I'm going to remove them out and you can be in the sheep tractor by yourself. And so that's where he's at currently. And we've got the lambs, the sheep moved over. And like I say, I've got them on a different area of the pasture. So they're getting a little bit higher in treatment than old Jethro's getting because he's kind of a dick.
So I didn't tell you the other day when you asked me to go, you had left to go running and you told me to move Jethro.
Mm-hmm.
And I went up there to lift up the sides to be able to pull him. And he just came and rammed his head right into the side.
Did he?
Yeah. And I looked at him and thought, you're not nice.
Yeah, he tries to do that to me. And then I tune him up sometimes.
Oh, I didn't. He then came over and wanted to sniff my hand. I thought,
Yeah. I don't know what I don't know what
you.
his deal is. Like I say, I may just have to segregate him from the ewes primarily most of the time, and he can just be an alone boy. Yeah, I don't have any problem doing that. If he's not going to play nice with the females, then he doesn't get a chance to be with the females other than when he needs to breed them. But how do you assess and tackle your daily goals, Rebecca? What do you do? Do you have a list of things or do you just wing it every day when you get up?
I'm not 100% good on making the list, but I do try to. I try to do the list. I usually stick it in the back of my pocket. And as I go, I try to do it off of memory because I think it's great to use your brain. And then I will check back on the list to see how much of it I actually accomplished and how much of it I forgot. Now, every now and then, like this evening when I went to the grocery store, I didn't make a list. So I was just winging it. And sure enough, there was probably about 3 items I forgot.
Right. Yeah. I pretty much wing it every day too. I mean, I have a list of goals that I want to get accomplished around here, but that's not how I structure my day. I usually start my day out with a number of things that I want to get accomplished. And, like with your grocery list, sometimes I fall short and other times I hit it out of the park and I accomplish all my daily goals and more. I would say that the beautiful thing about either of those two scenarios is that I can pretty much always look back at the end of my day and see progress. And ultimately, I should be able to ask myself the question, have I made myself better today? And is that something you ask yourself, or how do you assess that?
I don't know if I physically ask myself, have I made myself better today?
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, when I get up in the morning, there are certain chores that I have to have done. And I feel not accomplished if I don't have them done. So it's just like, I'm up, bed's made, got to get the laundry, got to get the dishes going, got to get those things going.
So those are your standard chores. I have standard chores as well. We do those every day, right? There's things that everybody does every day that doesn't even go to the other stuff you need to get done. And I timed myself on a couple of different occasions. And I would say that for myself, my standard chores at this point take about 24 minutes. And I don't know, I asked you to do that as well. Did you do that
Right.
at all?
Mine take me about an hour and 15 minutes.
Oof. Yeah. That's a little lengthy. That's more than what I do every day. As far as standard in the morning, I'm just out dealing with animals in the chicken yard and compost and stuff like that. And that's roughly about what I do every day. Here's an hour and 15 minutes.
Well, because I get up, I make you breakfast. Do the whole laundry and everything, folding laundry. I've got to fold laundry every single day.
Right.
Dishes. So yes, I would say that's probably about the quickest that I can get it done.
Yeah.
There are times when we have visitors, so I have an added room that I need to, and that would obviously, that doesn't include vacuuming because I don't vacuum every single day. I probably should, but I don't.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know about the rest of y'all, but I always look at the things that I need to get done, and there's so many, they're always staring you in the face. But I think it's important, at least this is how I look at it, is it's important to look at the things that have been done and take stock in what you have accomplished. And, even if those accomplishments happen to be in your eyes small, they're small victories, and those small victories add up to a significant change. Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think the way I look at it, the goal is to be better today than you were yesterday in some way, and to be better tomorrow than you were today. And that's kind of been the theme for this this YouTube channel, I suppose, because a lot of people feel as though, hey, I'm not getting done all the things I need to get done. And, how do you get to this point in life? And it's really about incremental change and just being persistent.
For me, it's kind of like a routine. And then I'm adding to that routine to improve. And yeah. And then you kind of get a little bit quicker. It's almost like when you're doing an activity, you're slow at first and you eventually get a little faster.
Right. I've been making a lot of progress around here, and I've been really pleased with that. I think partially it's due to the really dry weather we've been having. Right now, I've done a lot of property cleanup around here, and things are starting to look like spring for me. I've been working quite a bit on fire hazard reduction, putting in those scrape around my field and putting in the fire lines and picking up all the deadfall and getting that onto piles so I can make some biochar and whatnot. I've also been doing a lot of weed abatement with herbicide, and I would prefer actually not to have to do herbicide on my property. But the reality is that in order to have property that doesn't have shit growing everywhere, some places I have to utilize herbicide. So for instance, underneath the solar panels or in some of the roadways where, we're driving or whatnot, I use, herbicide limited in a limited fashion. And then other areas where it's a little bit more sensitive and I don't want that effect, is I actually use propane like a blowtorch, and I'll just burn the weeds out and keep them burned out that way. So like around my hugel mounds or any of my edible landscapes, nothing resembling any kind of an herbicide gets anywhere close to that. And then I'll use that heat treatment to keep things like Bermuda grass from encroaching in those spaces, because that's something that's really can take over if you don't address it. But one thing that we did today, I was super busy, and I got a chance to make some biochar finally, and that's been a result of having that good weather window. I don't like to burn char when the feedstock has been wet. The product isn't as good, so I like to let it dry out. And had that opportunity today, and we shot some content for that. I shot both a trench burn as well as what's going on with that, man? It's about annoying. I shot a trench burn.
You're buzzing, baby.
And and a retort burn, and I did them concurrently. And I did that because last week I was contacted by a gentleman who works for John Deere, and it's a John Deere publication known as The Furrow. And he was interested in doing a story on what I've been doing here on our homestead regarding biochar. He's watched a lot of my videos and been very, very interested in that, and wanted to tell the story and wanted to have me be a part of that story. And basically how I create it and what I use it to support on our property and what we're doing here on our farm. And so I agreed to that. And last week I guess it was a couple days ago, in fact. I sat down with him and did an interview via Zoom. And I'm excited to see about what they put out, what they put together for this project. And this piece is for a magazine called The Furrow. And The Furrow, I hadn't really been like aware of it because I hadn't really ever seen it. And it's like one of the oldest publications, one of the oldest farm publications around. And it started in 1895 by John Deere as a journal for the American farmer. And The Furrow is one of the most widely circulated farm magazines in the world. And it is still one of the most circulated agricultural publications because of its unique stories and beautiful photography. And so the publication goes to like 460,000 plus farmers across the US and Canada. And the Homestead edition, which I believe this story is going to be going into, is the Homestead edition, goes to an additional 125,000 plus hobby farmers and people interested in the rural lifestyle.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool. And I'm interested to see what their collaboration produces. And when something comes out, I'll let you guys know about it or whatever. And so you can check it out if that's something you're interested in. Yeah, we did a photo shoot here today. I did the interview a couple days ago, and then another gentleman from the publication came down and followed us around today and did a photo shoot while I was making biochar. So it was kind of a busy day here on the farm. But I've got that race coming up here in less than 2 weeks. And after the race, I've got some things I need to take care of here. So I'm already thinking forward to that. We're running out of chicken feed, so I need to put in a bulk order on that. I'll be buying another ton of chicken feed. And I found that's just the best way to go about it. It's the cheapest way. It's, when you have 30 plus chickens, it's nice to be able to store a ton at a time. So you're not running down to Tractor Supply every, couple of months dealing with sacks that, are going to be eaten by mice, and, you're dealing with fluctuations in feed prices and all that. So it's just nice to lock that in about a year at a time is about what we go through, about a ton every year.
So are you going to feed the hogs the same feed or
no, it'll be it's going to be bulk from this mill.
We'll get them from there too.
Yeah.
Because you were talking about chicken feed. So we're also going to be purchasing when we hog feed from him as well.
Yeah, we'll be buying another, I don't know what we'll get. I need to figure it out, but I want to probably get like 3 hogs to feed out. And then I've also got to, after this race it'll be time for me to plant onions in my no-till area. So onions here in zone 9A for me go in right about Valentine's Day. So that's when I like to put them in. And, they'll be ready by summer harvest then.
We need them.
Yeah, we do. We ran out here, I don't know, a month or so ago. So it's not cool to be buying onions when, like I say, we got to figure out something better for storage next year. But
yeah, somewhere it's darker because I don't think
we need to freeze dry them, because there's no reason we should have been throwing onions away. We should have freeze dried those, and we'll do that.
I don't know that room was necessarily dark enough and cold enough.
Well, we can't change that. What we can change is we can freeze dry it.
Yeah.
Instead, and because we can't make that room any darker or colder. So, yeah, Willow Rock says cotton also kills, and yeah, that's kind of the thing they say. I think there's a lot of truth in that. I know my son's ski coach used to say that. He used to drill that into him when he was on ski team. Cotton kills. Don't wear cotton.
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely a thing. Okay. You can help out with that, no?
Well, I am, but you had it covered up for
okay.
a long time.
All right. What else we got going on? Oh, also too, I was contacted by, I was an ambassador and an athlete for a company called Luna Sandals for about 6 years. And I stepped away from that, a number of years ago, I guess somewhere around COVID. And I just kind of stepped away from all of my, my sponsorships and things like that related to running. And, I've remained friendly with, the owners of the company. They're good friends of ours. I really think they're fantastic people. And they contacted me, reached out just the other day and wanted to know if I wanted to run a race for them in their sandals. And they're going to, be putting together like kind of an athlete team and stuff like that. I don't know if I'll be a part of it, but I've definitely took them up on running this race for free. And I think they're going to, do more photo shoot and stuff like that along with this race. So it's going to be in March down in Santa Barbara, and it's called 9 Trails Santa Barbara. It's about 35 miles and 10,000 feet of gain. So it's not a give me. It's going to be a tough race, but
and you are going to do that in sandals?
Yeah, affirmative. You betcha. Luna Sandals is a great company. It's a small business success, quite honestly. It was started by a guy named Barefoot Ted, and Barefoot Ted is one of the people that was written about in the book Born to Run. And Born to Run was one of those books that really a lot of people in the running industry read. And it was about the Tarahumara Indians down in Mexico. And I actually went down with the team. Luna Sandals took us down a few years back. And we went and we ran in Mexico. I ran the 50-mile. And it was cool, man. It was very, very cool to go down and see that and be a part of that. And it's kind of a unique opportunity for me. So I think I'm going to take them up on that. But here's a little piece, just so in case you've never seen Barefoot Ted, but he's a pretty interesting dude. He's very, very high energy. He has a lot of good ideas, and he's just like a big kid, man. He's super cool to be around. But check this out.
This is Barefoot Ted, circa 2007. He was one of the earliest pioneers of barefoot running. Ted was the barefoot kook in the park that you avoided. He was on a mission to run pain-free, which ultimately led him down to the Copper Canyons of Mexico to run with the indigenous Tarahumara tribe of sandal runners. This was the trip chronicled in Born to Run that ultimately changed everything Ted thought to be true about running. These tribes were running more than Ted has ever covered in his life, which started him down the rabbit hole of making his own barefoot shoe company. Luna started in Barefoot Ted's garage, back when he sold sandals on his blog and promoted them via these low-quality YouTube videos. In true Barefoot Ted fashion, he commandeered some local hippies at a park in Seattle to work for him in his garage making sandals, which ultimately is our production team now. For anybody interested in Ted's original Lunas, they were custom order only, made by hand to your specific footprint. Meanwhile, he was running the Leadville 100 and multiple other ultras to test out designs and advance the product further. As the demand for Ted's crazy sandals grew, so did the business. They expanded to a bigger facility in Seattle, met lots of friends and ambassadors, and ultimately brought us to the production facility in Wenatchee we're in today. But it all started here, with Ted making YouTube videos and writing on his blog about how barefoot running is best. Cheers to Luna.
So, shout out to people with big ideas, and side hustles can turn into very lucrative business opportunities. And that's essentially what's taken shape with Ted and the company that he's put together. And like I say, I call him a friend and his wife a friend. And I look forward to seeing him soon as I go down there into Santa Barbara in March. And then we may wind up seeing if we can go down to Born to Run as well sometime this year too. That's always a fun event. But
it is.
Yeah,
it's like a 4-day party.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really cool. Really,
they
cool.
are extremely sweet people.
Mm-hmm. Okay, you're not helping out over here at all with these comments. I can't see this and try to figure out what to do here. Right? I tell you, just hold on. Anyhow, I thought that I would, in the spirit of tonight's, or in the spirit of the inauguration day, I would come up with a quote from a liberal or conservative. And I've got 2 quotes. And I'll let you, Rebecca, see if you can tell if it's a liberal or a conservative in this quote. And then I'll tell you who it is. actually.
Well, the last 2 times I've struck out, so we'll see.
It's okay. It's not like, it's okay. So the first quote is this. It says, "The worst things in history have happened when people stop thinking for themselves, especially when they allow themselves to be influenced by negative people. That's what gives rise to dictators. Avoid that at all costs. Stop it first on a personal level, and you will have contributed to world sanity as well as your own." Liberal or conservative, Rebecca?
Again, it depends on when this quote was written, but I'm going to say conservative.
Okay. Yeah, I by today's standards, I'd say yes, because this person is a part of the Republican Party, and he goes by Donald John Trump. So, at one point he was a Democrat, I guess. I don't know how liberal he was, but probably more so than he is today, because we all can change and grow and everything. But I thought that was a pretty good quote, and I've got another quote. And it goes such as this. It says, "You're a success when you look at your kids and realize they turned out better than you." Liberal or conservative?
I'd say conservative on that one as well.
Yeah, it probably, I will say this, that's the best quote I could find from this person. All the rest were terrible. I didn't want to pull a quote that made this person look bad, because they do enough of that on their own. But this is from Joseph R. Biden.
See, now if you'd pulled up something other than this, I probably would have.
Well, I mean, literally, I could pull this up for you right now, and it's amazing that there's 25 quotes that I pulled up from Trump, 25 quotes that I pulled up from Biden, and this one that I pulled up from Biden was the absolute one that didn't make him look like either a racist or a communist or just a dumbass. I'm serious. There were that many bad quotes from Joe Biden.
But I would say that his kids didn't turn out better than him.
No. So it's actually quite an appropriate quote if you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
But nonetheless, I just thought, in light of today's inauguration and the change of leadership at the federal level, those were 2 important quotes that I could bring up from liberal or conservative to give people something to think about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Of course, we can only speak of the one son because the other one has passed away.
Right. See, I'm trying to read because I'm like...
I know. I was trying to read, but then you move that over and then you cover it. And
it's not...
I can't read. Right?
Yeah. So anyhow, I was going to get to some questions from Q&A. I had some folks over the week that had some comments. So let me see if I can pull this up.
I think you still have a lot of people talking about the temperature and how cold it is.
Yeah, imagine. It's probably something worth talking about.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. Okay, so this is actually from Bill Zegley. And he said, "Great video, Eric." This was on our chicken composting video we put out a couple of weeks ago. Rain or shine, these chickens get the job done. And he says, "Great video. They are going after those piles like a group of fat men after jelly donuts. How incredible the production you can get out of animals. So you have different coops. Are they separated by the age and rotation that they will be processed? God bless, from Tennessee." I would say that, it's nice to be able to have the ability to separate them. But right now, the chickens are determining which coop they would rather be in night by night. And sometimes they're in this coop, or sometimes there's more in that coop, or whatever. It's just however Rebecca puts them up and how many follow her into a particular coop. If too many go in there, she'll kick some out, and then they wind up going into the other coop. We try to balance the amount that are in any one coop. Right now, the majority of those 30 birds are going into 2 coops because I've got a younger group of chickens that are too small to be put in just yet. So that's primarily how we do it. But if I get around to separating them out to process, I will have some place to isolate and to segregate them.
But initially, when we put the coops up,
Sure.
they did. They were, the older birds kind of all went to one coop. So they were for a while.
That's because,
and then they kind of changed their minds and were starting to pick their own coop. So
that's because when they're younger, they're going to want to not be with the older birds. And so they're going to go back. So if I let these young birds out right now, they're going to go out and they're going to want to go back to the coop that they know. They're going to want to go back where it's safe. They don't want to be pecked to death at night. And so they're going to go back to number 1, and the other 2 birds are going to go back to 2 and 3. So once they get all up to a certain age, they figure out the pecking order. They're going to kind of commingle however they want to be. However, there are some that are going to have a propensity to say, hey, I like this coop better than that coop. That's where they're primarily going to be. But yeah, they mix themselves up quite frequently.
Mm-hmm. I tried to last night. I tried to coax them. Once I got the food hung up, there still wasn't enough in the one coop. So I went back over. I took the food out to try to get them to follow me to get more in. And I did get, I think, like about 3 more in to follow me, but it was bedtime. They weren't having it.
Yeah. Bill Warner says, I just got a weed burning torch and 35-gallon propane tank. I have a lot of fence line to keep clean due to hot wire 8 inches off the ground for animal protection. Yeah, it's going to work, man. Good on you. That's the way to do it. For sure. Absolutely. Let's see. Yeah, I can't read those.
So funny. When I was looking for my glasses, I don't know if I told you this, but I was out there with a flashlight to make sure I didn't drop them, the ones that were around your neck, in one of the coops when I was feeding the chickens. And in number 3, I was surprised at how many of them were on the ground.
Yeah.
Because it was dark, it was cold. They were all huddled together, but they were on the ground. I thought they would have been.
Right. Just pulled this up from Bill Warner. Says, have you ever carried chia seeds as a supplement when you're running? Negative. No. And not that they aren't good to eat. I eat chia seeds a lot every day. I eat chia seeds in my smoothie, at least a spoonful every day. I eat chia seeds, at least a spoonful in my yogurt in the morning. So I eat I eat them on my eggs. They're very great soluble fiber. So they're a great source. The second word there that I just pointed out was fiber. Fiber is not great for runners that are running and consuming calories, because that fiber is going to work on your GI tract and you're going to wind up being in the bushes more than you're on the trail. So I get what you're saying, but for me, no, that's a hard no. So those are calories that I would probably try to avoid,
They're those calories that go in and come right back out.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, cool. Bill Warner says, I found that I can use a feed mill close enough that I can afford to drive and buy bulk feed for a year that's only 3 hours away, that's organic or non-GMO. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And I imagine they probably will mix whatever it is that you want. That's the beauty of dealing directly with a mill, because you can say, hey, well, I want my protein source to be this, or I want my protein source to be that. And, you can choose non-GMO. You can go completely organic if you want. And, we have the ability to do that at our mill. It's fantastic to be able to, provide your own custom blend if in fact you want to add something or take something away from your feed. And it might be worth that 3-hour drive. Ours is only about an hour drive, which thankfully I wish it was closer, but it's worth the hour-long drive down and back, because I'm generally speaking only doing it once, maybe twice a year, depending on what type of feed source I'm trying to get, because I'm probably not going to buy the pig feed at the same time I'm doing the chicken feed. So I may have to make 2 trips down there to do that, but yeah, definitely worth it. And we just use those olive barrels that hold 400 pounds per barrel. So you can basically get 5 barrels and you can put a ton in there and last us a year. It's super good. Keeps it fresh. Keeps it away from the rodents. Definitely the way to go.
They're really good until they get about halfway down, and then I'm basically climbing inside the barrel to get the feed.
Need to get you a step stool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, I've got this from, it says, sir, please remind viewers how important it is to wear a mask when using DE. Speaking of diatomaceous earth. And this is a chicken coop cleaning video where I showed the use of diatomaceous earth, to help keep down the parasitic load. And I just responded back to him and I said, yes, it's important to take precautions when working with anything with fine airborne particulates. Thanks for mentioning that. And, I suppose that was a little bit of an oversight on my part by not saying that. Yeah, it's definitely, anytime there's something flying in the air, you're probably not going to want to breathe that. It's not going to be great to breathe a bunch of that kind of stuff. So it was maybe an oversight on my part as a creator who's putting out information for people to consume that have never done that or worked around that sort of thing. So my bad.
So Bill says that he puts chia seeds in his smoothies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, they're fantastic, man. They do really help things move along. You know what I'm saying? So,
so does the coffee.
yeah, all of that, all those kind of things that are in people's routine and regimen. That's chia seeds are something I eat a lot of, like every day. Next question is from Rod Jendrisic, and this was on our video from last week, and he says, thanks for the background and insights on the fire. Learned a lot. Most of my knowledge is purely academic from articles, journals that I had read. Some, those several years ago, pointed out to this scale of fire. Some of those books several years ago pointed out to this scale of fire. Been looking to see if I still had them. Other than that, I worked with prairie burns in the early and mid 80s. I hope you feel better soon. Take care and God bless. And yeah, I mean, I just said thanks for watching and your comment. We all really do need to make sure that we're preparing ourselves for events like this. Something I'm thinking about constantly up here in Northern California. Because as I said, you're your own first responder. You're going to be the one first at scene. And if you have to call 911, you want to at least know that you've done all you can do to prepare yourself. Mm-hmm. Right.
So Willow Rock says something about the sandals. Go up one there.
Right there. Okay. Savage was about you running with those sandals. My feet would break right now if I tried 5 miles. Yeah, I imagine they'd break if you tried less, if you have never run in sandals. It really does take your feet and your lower limbs a lot of adjustment to getting to running on something that's zero drop and very hard. Yeah, I've run thousands of miles in sandals. I ran exclusively in sandals for many years, and I'm going to have to actually kind of build back into it. I've been running a lot in shoes, even though I run in kind of a zero drop shoe. I run in Altras that are zero drop, that meaning they don't have any elevation to the heel. There's no elevation to the heel. So that's there's no offset. But if you've never run in zero drop shoes, you can go from running in a regular shoe, go to a zero drop, and you run 3 miles and you're going to be freaking crippled the next day.
Well, especially if you're used to an arch support in your shoe too, because there's not really any on those sandals at all.
There's no arch at all.
Yeah, you'd feel that.
It's just a piece of rubber.
Mm-hmm. They're made out of tires, aren't they?
No, they don't make them out of tires. They got one version, but they make them out of a different rubber out of Luna,
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I have a Jack Skeleton Chia Pet. Yeah. Okay, so let me get back to this here.
I don't think I've ever been successful at growing one of those chia pets.
All you do is add water.
I know, but I think I
Yeah.
neglect them and they die.
Yeah. This is from Pablo Gonzalez, and he says, dude, and he's referring to a video, killing video, butchering.
Mm-hmm.
And it says, dude, you wasted gallons of great blood for sausage. And again, I said, point taken, you are correct. That's not something that we do here. I've never had blood sausage. I know that there's people that probably love that and eat it. And it's probably a great resource from the standpoint of, all of the benefits that it's going to give you nutritionally. But that's not my jam, man.
Yeah, no, thank you.
That's not my jam. There's just things that I don't eat because that's not how I was raised. And I know that there's different cultures where that would be considered like just a like sacrilege to not eat that. That's like the delicacy or whatever. And I just don't, that's just not my thing. So, I get it. These videos are seen by people in other cultures and other countries. And I understand they're looking at it like, I've had people say, oh man, you're wasting the insides, right? You're wasting all of the intestines and excuse me, all of that. It's not how I was raised. And I don't eat like that kind of organ stuff, not to say that if it wasn't cooked just right, I might enjoy it, but I'm not going to ask my wife to cook something she has no idea what to do with. Right. And you're not going to eat it. So what's the point?
I'm not going to eat it. I told you, my mom used to cook liver and onions every Friday. And
yeah,
my dog ate really well because it went to my mouth and right underneath the table to the dog.
Yeah. Willow Rock says, I saw where Germans eat raw pork. Yeah, I don't know.
She also said that she used to live in wrestling shoes. Is that what that says? Just above it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they don't have any, they're flat wrestling shoes. They're kind of cool. See, do I have any more questions?
So that would be kind of cool because it would be like the tennis shoes that I like to wear during the daytime. They're soft and flexible.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, they don't carry that brand anymore.
Mm-hmm. A couple more questions here, I guess. And this is from a short that I just put out this week. And it shows some of the food that we got, excess food from a food bank, where the chickens are out there just frolicking amongst strawberries and lettuce and cantaloupe and different things that get discarded. And, a lot of that food is quite serviceable. You could pick through it and put food on your table. There's really nothing wrong with it. It's just past the date. And it's incredible, guys, to think that food like this is discarded. Generally speaking, it's taken up by people who have made contact like us or someone else, maybe with pigs or some other kind of a thing. Sometimes that material is being used to go into a facility to be, recycled in a way that is regenerative. So there's that aspect of it as well. The food, generally speaking, doesn't just get tossed in the trash. If that's happening, in your area, you might really consider going and seeing if you can make contact with the proprietor of that business and say, hey, look, I've got some animals. This would, I'd like to compost, whatever. That way the resource isn't being wasted. But, there's a lot of competition for it out there, but it's incredible. Every day the produce managers are going through and they're walking down and they're saying, oh, this one has a little bit of this on it, or this one looks a little like this, and it's not as good as what the stuff is that they've got in the storeroom that they're going to be bringing out tomorrow. So they go through and they start bringing this stuff off. And like I say, there's really a lot of it, nothing wrong with it. Some of it's like past due date or whatever, if it's like some salad thing or whatever, and it's got a date eat by, and it's still good, man. But we get it occasionally when they give us a call. Hey, we've got extra stuff, come down and grab this. And we'll bring it into the chicken yard and do our, our chickens a solid. They're very appreciative to get that kind of stuff. So,
by the way, we got a big bag of bread.
Did we?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Yeah, they love that too. Sheep love it. it's not the greatest as far as nutritionally, but hey, carbs, man, right? Carbohydrates. Anyhow, this was on that video, and somebody said it was Lenny BB 836. I didn't think of going to the food bank. Great idea. And that's just another resource. So if you have a food bank in your area, maybe see if you can make contact with them and see if you can work something out,
Mm-hmm.
I said it's a win-win for everybody. We don't always get food from them because there are others who have dibs before us. But when there's an overabundance, we always answer the call. They'll call us up or text Rebecca or something, and it's like, oh yeah, let's go down and get some stuff.
Yeah, and sometimes it's the whole back of his pickup.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And somebody else on that same video said, I've eaten worse strawberries than I see in that pile. Right. So,
some of those strawberries look good.
Oh man, I'm telling you, there's nothing wrong with them. Yeah, I said it's crazy how much food's being discarded. It's still good for human consumption. And it's actually quite a shame because there's people out there that are, not able to put food on their table, that are struggling financially or whatever. And then they're taking food that is going into a dumpster. We had that dude in town that pissed me off that basically was an asshole to you. And then when I asked him about it, he was like, oh no, we're giving it to so-and-so, and they're just throwing it out behind the thing in the dumpster. And it's like, if you're going to lie to me, man, just like, don't expect that if I find out about it, then I'm going to come do business at your store, and so he's no longer in business. I don't know what happened to him, but somebody else took that store over. But,
however, that person had said that they'd give you a call, and we never heard from them either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let's say here in Tennessee, it's against the law for Bill Warner. Go.
Let's see here. Willow Rock says, hack Peter, excuse me, is a preparation of minced raw pork seasoned with salt and black pepper that is popular in Germany. Never heard of that. Sounds like raw pork is the thing, I guess.
Yummy.
Okay, what's Bill say? It says here in Tennessee, it's against the law for a grocery store to give their waste product away for animal feed, but not for compost. Oh, gee, my pigs and chickens got into my compost yard. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, that's an easy way around it, right? They're, for whatever reason, they've got that, I guess, prohibition. And if you just decide, hey, I'm composting, if they want to give it to you, no matter what, you can use it yourself if it's good. You just don't tell them about it, right?
Well, one of the things that here where we live, they started delivering garbage cans that were for compost. And that's what they required from the stores. It was for them to put all of their old food in so that it can be taken to the junkyard, basically, in a specific place. And so that kind of slowed us down getting their stuff. But occasionally what happens is their bin doesn't get picked up and they're overflowing. And that's when they'll call us and they'll say, hey, can you come get this? And I'm like, yes. Yeah,
of course. And now this is from that same video where there's chickens and they're pecking around in the pile of leaves that I've introduced into the yard. And somebody asked, are they eating the leaves or bugs that live in them? And I had to respond in this way. I said, chickens have incredible eyesight. Most of the time, I can't even see what they're eating. In this instance, however, I believe they're going after the few grass clippings picked up when I bagged the leaves. And so I think that's what they were going after. But yeah, it is pretty incredible. Chickens, they can see so well. They actually see quite a bit better than humans, from what I understand. They have very good sight afar. They have very good sight close up. Where they don't have good sight is at nighttime. So in low light situations, they can't see like at all. It's one of the reasons why they go to bed so early, because it's like, hey man, I can't even see anything. So I just need to get somewhere where I can be safe.
So if I want to snatch one up to hold it, I should do that at nighttime.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can go in there when they're sleeping and move them from pen to pen, and they're not going to worry about it. They'll wake up in the other pen and they'll be like, oh, okay, this is where I went to sleep. They don't know any better. They're not exactly smart in that regard, but when they're sleeping, they're pretty much tuned out. So, I wanted to touch on the inauguration as kind of the main topic for this evening. And I got a chance to watch a portion of it this morning on the treadmill. I wanted to get in a run this morning, and I decided to do so. While I was on the treadmill, I turned on the inauguration and got a chance to watch a portion of Trump's acceptance speech. I'll probably listen to the remainder of it at some point when I get some time. But it was quite something to see. There's so much pomp and circumstance to the whole thing, and I have to be honest that in watching that, it's just an incredible thing if you think about it. That here we have, as nasty as the campaign has been for the last dozen years or more, that, people can come together that are 180 degrees opposite of one another and sit in the same room and go through this whole procedure of transference of power. And the pomp and circumstance associated with it was like, I was tripping out because most of the people in there are like very old. And they had those people standing for over an hour as all the people are being paraded in. Okay, here's the Secretary of State, and here's this person, and here's the honorable this. And, when they kept calling people honorable, like they're throwing it around like it's just, everybody's honorable. I'm thinking, honorable Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, that one had me. When they got to that, I was like,
yeah,
excuse me?
Yeah, everybody's honorable. And it's just like that part to me was so fake because so many of these people are just not honorable.
Not Biden's wife. That was Dr. Biden.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, no, I don't know what her deal is, man, but she doesn't really rub me the wrong way as much as some of these other people. She seems like she could probably be a pretty nice lady if she wasn't surrounded around the politics of all of this stuff. At least a decent human being. I would rather have dinner with her than somebody like Hillary Clinton or Nancy Pelosi. You just know those people are just dirty and evil and corrupt.
How about Michelle Obama, who didn't even go to the inauguration?
Yeah, I don't know what her thing is. There's a lot of speculation, obviously, and nobody knows except those that know. And it could be a variety of different things. It could be she's, as a protest, she's decided, hey, I don't want to participate in this. I don't know that. It could be that she had a facelift. It could be that she's ill. It could be a lot of reasons why she may have decided she didn't want to go there. It doesn't have to be because she's, I can't go because Trump or whatever. So I guess we'll find out at some point. Obviously she didn't go to Jimmy Carter's thing. So maybe there's more than just not liking Trump, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but it was an incredible thing to witness for me, man. I was kind of digging it. And just to see the incredible collection of power that was all concentrated within that room, whether it be political power, you had all of the justices there, Supreme Court. You had all of the key figures in our Senate that were there. You had all of the former presidents that are living were there. You had all these people who have had access to this power on both sides who have been invited now. People who have been invited as guests of President Trump. You've got Elon Musk. You've got Jeff Bezos. You've got Mark Zuckerberg, all sitting there. And these are the richest people in the world sitting there in this one room. And I was just kind of tripping on it thinking, man, this is crazy. Watching all these people sucking up to power. And, what do you think about that? Is it interesting to you? Is it odd? how do you process seeing all those people? I mean, it's everybody, the who's who of the most powerful people in the world, quite honestly, were in that room for the most part. Even the nobodies, like who'd I see in there? Rudy Giuliani was there.
Was he?
Represent.
See, I was running, so I didn't get to see a lot of faces. And I actually, when I was putting dinner together, I had to rewatch. The only thing that I could hear that made me wonder was that when Carrie Underwood was supposed to be singing, that the music started and she was walking up with the mic to start and the music stopped. And they stood there and you could see Trump making some facial expressions and she's standing there and she's waiting and it doesn't start. So she just starts singing it a cappella and just says, hey, if y'all know the words, help me out. And everybody in the room started singing with her. And it was very beautiful.
Oh, that's nice.
I mean, she was just very graceful. And then she blew a kiss to the whole crowd of people and gave Trump a hug.
I didn't see that, so I'll have to watch that when I get time. But no, I was asking you about the sucking up to power. What do you think about that? How do you process that?
I think that there's some in there that are fear that they're going to lose their position. So yes, they're sucking up to Trump and wanting to appear as though they're on his side so that they can stay in their little groove that they've got going on.
Well, is that bad? Is that wrong?
If they're not down with what he's saying and they're just kind of faking it, yes, I think there's something wrong with that.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I was more asking, that's our system, right? That's the way things are, sucking up to power. So, a lot of these people didn't want to be around Trump, but now that he's back, there's a lot of people that want to ride those coattails and to be a part of that. And that's just the way our system works.
Well, I think they want to ride the coattails. I don't know that they necessarily truly want to be a part of. They just want to keep their job and stay where they're at, stay in their little comfort.
Is that right or is that wrong? How do you view that?
I think that's wrong.
Right. Yeah. I don't think it's outside of what goes on in everyday life, though, if you think about it, because all these people are wanting something from someone else. They're all wanting to be a part of this thing. They want to be close to power.
But if they had the opportunity, they'd turn around and stab him in the back. That's where I think it's wrong.
Yeah, not all of them. I mean,
not all of them, but think about when he was last president.
Yeah.
And when we're getting, how many of those people did not stand up for him?
Of course they could throw him under the bus, and they thought he was he's a done deal. And so at that point, they didn't want anything to do with him. They wouldn't stand to walk across the room and even look him in the eye. They were discarding him. And now he's back in this position, and he's got all these people around him, some friendly that are actually probably true friends in a sense that they're not going to fuck him over. But nonetheless, they all want to be a part of that power structure. So my point to this is, I guess, that's not unlike a lot of relationships, a lot of friendships, if you think about it.
Yeah.
Because very many friendships are from the standpoint of, how does this mutually benefit each other? It's a lot of friendships are transactional. What's in it for you? Right. And so I think that's what you're seeing in this. And it's not really undifferent than what you would see in a lot of friendships, quite honestly. Finger quotes, friendships.
Yeah. However, I think that there are, let's just take Elon for an example. He's crossed over the line. I don't think he's crossed over the line so much to benefit. I mean, obviously it's going to benefit him, but it's like his his eyes have been open to, you know what, this is definitely the better way to go. This is what I'm going to. And so for that, I think is the right thing.
Of course.
But if you're doing it just because of, you don't want to lose your job, so you want to rub elbows with Trump and, hey, I'm your best bud, but I'm going to go home and I'm going to bad talk you.
Mm-hmm.
That's wrong.
Yeah, there's plenty of people that are going to do that. And then there's others that are actually probably true friends that, he has a relationship with on a different level. But again, it's a business relationship. It's a transactional relationship because Trump, he's the master at saying the best things about a person to their face. And then as soon as he's done with you, he's going to motherfuck you right out the door.
Well,
he's a horrible person. He's this, he's that. And that's just
if
how
you turn your back on him.
True. He very much intends on people being loyal to him, and I can fully appreciate that. I understand that if you stab me in the back, you're probably only going to get a chance to do that once because I'm going to be done with you as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that's I don't think that's to your fault. I think that's to you just being an observant person saying, you know what, man, you had your opportunity and you blew it, and now I'm done with you. And so, but it was just interesting, man, to see all those people there, Zuck and they're just right there. One thing, Michael Bolton, yeah, he's up that. Yeah. Michael Bolton, you mean John Bolton, right? Lots of people, part of the first administration were the swamp, Pompeo Bolton. Yeah, and of course he had learned from that mistake. And I think you're going to see, I don't even have to say, I know we're going to see a much different Donald Trump in this second administration. And I think the majority of the people that voted for him are ready for that. We want to see the ship being righted. Because, for what's happened for so long is that we've just got this watered down version of what we all kind of hoped conservatism would be. And, it's just been unfortunate where you vote for somebody, you get them into power, and then, they just do the same bullshit year after year, and they vote for the wrong things and they support the wrong policies. And, I think we're going to see a change in that, a big change in that. And I'm very optimistic if he can stay safe that we will see that in this country.
Mm-hmm.
That's, I think, the biggest challenge is just going to make sure that he's not going to get taken out by somebody.
So I agree with Will Rock that yes, his first term, those people were the swamp, and I don't think they had any love for Trump at all. No, but I think he's done a much better job of recognizing that and learning from those 4 years. And that's, I think that's the one shining, thing about the fact that he had this break for 4 years and he got to really see what the swamp was all about and who they were. And, now I think things are going to be a little bit different on a second go around. And, I don't know. It's going to be kind of interesting to see how it all transpires. So when you were talking about Zuckerberg, I guess is one, people like him, I would hope that Trump is keeping him at arm's length. Yeah, reserved to know where he actually stands, because you can't just. I think he's doing that. Yeah. He knows that, hey, this guy can benefit us by him getting a little closer, and he's not stupid, man. He knows. I think he's learned a lot. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. No, I agree with you. I think he's learned a lot, and I think he's surrounded himself with a lot of smart people who can help him. Yeah, it's a better group of people that he's assembling around him this time, and that's the value of those 4 years of really seeing who the swamp was and everything. So another thing I wanted to point out was, man, what a demonstration of family grace when his family walks in. And, you look at them and they're just all so dialed. They're so impressive, not only in the way that they carry themselves, their intelligence, everything about his family is just like,
you can't really say too much bad about them. And, everybody's family, for the most part, you have people in your family that, oh, well, that's Uncle so-and-so, or that's cousins. Everybody's got something in their family where somebody's kind of fucking it up. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really see, he doesn't have a crackhead son. He doesn't have a daughter that's out doing things that are like would make the family brand look bad. They're just very well kept and poised, and they know what they have to lose, I suppose, from the stamp, or they know what they've been given in that organization, in that family. And it just shows, man, when you see, it's just crazy, man.
Mm-hmm. But even when you see Trump when he's much younger,
mm-hmm.
he's very poised like them.
Yeah. Yeah. He's very disciplined, obviously, and stuff. But, Melania walks in and it's just like, jaw drop.
I know, she's absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah. She's like a fantastic representation of what you think a first lady should be. Ivanka, his daughter, I mean, she's just incredibly like poised. You just look at her and you go, God damn. Like she's good looking and she just carries herself well. She's so well spoken, and all of his kids. And so I don't know, it's just a very stark contrast from the administration that's outgoing to the one that's coming in. And I just thought I'd say something about that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that struck me about this, and I actually got choked up during this ceremony. I started to kind of almost get like lumped up a little bit, but it was when the opera guy was singing. There was a guy that was singing like this opera song, and they zoomed in while he was singing this high note. They zoomed in on the Committee of Five. And I don't know if you guys know of the Committee of Five, but I brought this up on another broadcast. I was talking about this, but they zoomed in on this painting right here. And it's John Trumbull's 1818 painting of the Committee of Five, presenting their draft of the Declaration of Independence to the Second Continental Congress in Philadelphia. And so from left to right is John Adams, Roger Sherman, Robert Livingston, Thomas Jefferson, and Benjamin Franklin. But they zoomed in on that picture right there. And I don't know, man, it's just at that moment, I was just like, man, this is kind of powerful. Because they kind of panned at the same time over to the living presidents. And I was just thinking, wow, this is crazy. So
was the song like, Oh, America?
Dude was singing in like Italian or something. I don't know what he was singing.
Oh, okay. I don't think I heard him.
No, you may not have, but that moment right there kind of hit me. And I was just like thinking, man, I don't know. It's powerful. But anyhow, did you have anything else you wanted to add from the inauguration today? I did want to kind of bring up a comparison between a couple of different presidents, highly regarded presidents, but I'll let you finish your thought if you had one to add.
Oh, I'm happy that he's been sworn in. Mm-hmm. So success so far. And I hope that we kind of stay on that track.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was talking about bringing home the hostages. I forget exactly where they were at, from the Middle East. Is that where they were at?
That happened a couple days ago.
Right. But look, the guy wasn't even sworn in yet, and he's already accomplishing.
Yeah. I didn't get a chance to see all of that, his acceptance speech, but man, the part that I saw, he was blazing. He was coming out swinging, and making no apologies, basically going 180 degrees, talking about all the failures from the previous administration, not directly saying, you're a failure, but saying, hey, we're going to take dramatic steps to make sure we resecure our energy and close down our border. And these are the things that we're going to be doing, because for the last 4 years, we've been going in a different direction, and today's a new day.
But prior to that, he listed the presidents that were all there, and then he went into that.
Yeah, I need to watch the thing in its entirety, because like I say, I was in the midst of finishing up my run and trying to go outside and get ready to, do this biochar shoot. But
so it was like, I'm speaking to you. I'm not pointing out just a single person, but I'm speaking to all of you sitting there.
That's awesome, and man, he's on one.
Mm-hmm.
So try to get caught up here after this broadcast and find out a little bit more about what happened today. But did want to point that out from what I did see today.
Yeah, it was quite a speech.
Yeah, very fiery. So, Trump and Ronald Reagan, in my opinion, have a lot of similarities. And I think the younger crowd, they're not really so much knowing what Reagan was all about. But if you go back and you do any historical, like looking into Reagan when not only he was governor of California, but then he also became a 2-term president. Man, he was quite the guy. He had a lot of great policies, a lot of great things that he spoke and he espoused, and very similar in a lot of ways, both he and Trump, even though they are very, very different people in how they carried themselves from the standpoint of their tone and their demeanor and the way that they had to, navigate the whole political scene. But times have changed a lot, and I would ask you, Rebecca, would you think that Ronald Reagan would have won the election in 2024 if he was the nominee?
And he's running against Trump?
He's running
against Biden?
He's running against Kamala or Biden or whatever. You think that the American people would have voted?
If we were in the same situation as we were right now, as far as what's happening with our country and everything, I think that Reagan would have won.
Yeah, I think so as well. I absolutely think, because of his policies, the way that he has conducted himself as a governor, I think people would look at the dramatic and stark differences between the two candidates, or the two philosophies regarding what the Democrats want to push forward with open borders and everything that they've done over the last 4 years, and what Reagan would be espousing. And I think it would be a landslide victory as well.
Mm-hmm.
But let me ask you this. Do you think that if it would have been, do you think he would have been able to withstand what Trump has been able to withstand and become the nominee?
I really don't know if he has quite the same fight that Trump has.
Yeah, I would say that I agree with that. I don't know, quite honestly, what type of fight is in him, because I don't know if he's ever been tested in that way. But I think that it takes a very, very special individual to withstand all of the attacks and all of the things that Trump has had to endure over the past 4 years and even before 4 years. I mean, it started in 2016 when he was elected.
Mm-hmm.
He had to deal with that. He never had a honeymoon for the first 100 days like most people get. It was constant attack. He's a Russian agent. He's this, he's that. It's the fucking dossier. It's the, everything just from the go. And it takes a very, very special individual to get to the point where he's at currently. And, it's interesting to me how you could even sit in the same room with Biden and crack a smile sitting next to Obama, given the fact of what they have done to this man. It's interesting to think that he's of that caliber where he can put that face on, knowing what he knows about what they did to him. That takes a special individual. I don't think most people would be able to withstand that.
But I think he let that out in his speech. A little bit.
Well, yeah, he's not playing now, man. It's not, It's not a fucking game. He knows what he needs to do, and he doesn't care if he walks on anybody's feelings. He knows the media is against him. He knows half of Washington, if not more, is against him, and he needs to go in there and handle some business and put the right people in place and make some shit happen. That's what actually needs to happen. He's not playing nice. And I think that's what the American people, again, elected him to do. That's what we've been waiting for I don't know how long. We want somebody to represent the people's voice, and he's the closest representation of that if you're going to align with a government figure that we've had since Ronald Reagan in a very, very long time. Let me play this clip right here so you can see what I'm talking about in case people are unaware or unfamiliar with what Ronald Reagan kind of stood for and what he really espoused his entirety of his political career.
We, the people, tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. We, the people, are the driver. The government is the car. And we decide where it should go and by what route and how fast. Almost all the world's constitutions are documents in which governments tell the people what their privileges are. Our Constitution is a document in which we, the people, tell the government what it is allowed to do. We, the people, are free. And I hope we have once again reminded people that man is not free unless government is limited. There's a clear cause and effect here that is as neat and predictable as a law of physics. As government expands, liberty contracts.
Yeah, he ain't wrong. And just about everything that guy ever said at in a speech, kind of wrapped itself around that philosophy and ideology. And, that's one of the reasons why he won, I think it was 50 states, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think in large part, you might have seen a very similar result this time if there were states that, required ID and citizenship to vote. But might I remind you, all of the places where Kamala won and the Democrats were the ones that carried the day, those were all states where you didn't actually need to prove citizenship. It's pretty interesting how that took shape.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that if in fact we had that in California where you had to show up and it was one person, one vote, I could almost bet it would be a different result. Maybe California wouldn't have went toward Donald Trump, but I guarantee you the votes would have been a lot different. He would have got more votes.
Absolutely.
100%.
And actually, I think he would have won California.
I do too.
I honestly would say that he probably did win California.
Yeah, California's not that fucked up, guys. We're just like you. We're just held hostage to stupid ass policies. That said, check this out. Rebecca came in here right before the thing, and she says, "Hey, check out this bag they gave me at the store. Look at this bag. This is what you put your produce in, right? And it's actually kind of a good idea. I like it because you know what it says? It says compostable. How good is that, man?
If it really is.
Yeah, right. And so I actually looked it up because I wanted to know. What is this, man? I don't know. I'm not putting this in my compost pile till I know what it is, right?
Yeah.
But it's like
this is when you go into the produce section and you get those bags. This is the bag, but you really don't want to put anything heavy in this bag.
Right. So this is what it is. I looked it up. It's from this company. It's called Crown Poly. And it's they make these different products. And then here's what this is. It's a compostable bag, and it's derived from agricultural raw materials. And as I pull it up here, it says that it's made from 100% vegetable starches, which makes them compostable. And so I thought, oh, that's pretty cool. I don't know. I'm going to look into it more. I think that's a good idea, except the problem is it doesn't work. You put your shit in here, and as Rebecca has told me, it basically falls to the floor because it's so damn thin. So from the standpoint of being an entrepreneur, this company, Crown Poly, they are brilliant because you know why? People are going to have to double up on these damn things to keep the apples from hitting the floor when they go into the produce section. So for their thinking, they're going to sell twice as many of these things. Yeah, not a bad idea, right? But hey, California, that's what we're working with.
I actually thought that they were the organic bags because they started with those. You could still get the thicker bags. And in the organic section, they had bags that look like that, but they said organic. Now, all of the bags in the produce section are that.
Huh. Yeah, I don't know. Well, they're actually going to have a plastic bag ban here again in California. I think starting. I don't know if it's this year or whatever, but that's a thing coming up. What's up, London? How you doing this evening? Good to see you.
Hi, London.
Says I'd say was CIA flooding the cities. Not sure what that's referring to right there, but okay. So Willow Rock, so do we know about him flooding cities with crack? Okay, I'm missing out on your guys' conversation. Barbara Bush, is she still alive? I didn't know she was still alive, but nonetheless.
Yeah.
But yeah, you got it right. Willow Rock's double bag. So again, that's a smart move from the standpoint of the company because that's what people are going to do. They're going to use more bags. They'll make more money. So good stuff. But the similarities I was thinking about between Reagan and Trump is both of those guys were smaller government. Now, they both kind of approached it from a different, messaging. Trump is drain the swamp. Reagan came out and basically said exactly what I just played in that video, and he did so in a more
Eloquent way.
more like soft edge like way. But see, things were different 30 years ago. It's just gotten a lot more vicious in politics over the course of those years. And so I wonder if Reagan would have been able to adapt to that. I mean, Trump he's not playing with anybody. Doesn't matter if you're the media. It doesn't matter if you're some, world leader. He's going to like put you in your place, man. He's not going to play games and play nice so long as you're playing the right way. But both of those guys were 2-term presidents, right? One was a consecutive 2-term president. The other, sat 4 years out, I guess. But both of them were 2-term presidents. They also, both of them were shot. Reagan was shot by some whack job liberal, John Hinckley, I believe was his name. No. Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
I think so.
No, Mark David Chapman, I think was his name. I think that was his name. Oh, maybe. I don't know what I'm talking about. That could be like John Lennon or something. But anyhow, both of them were shot. And they both were inaugurated indoors. Now, that's something that just does not happen very often. And the last time that happened was actually 1985 when Ronald Reagan was inaugurated indoors. Both of them succeeded highly unpopular single-term Democrat presidents. So Jimmy Carter was, in all sense of the word, a kind of a failed president. And I think that history will show that Biden will be considered mostly a failed president based on what he has done for this country. I don't think, you can try to spin it however you want to spin it, but your accomplishments are your accomplishments. And when you open up the fucking border day one and flood this country with millions of people that shouldn't be here,
it's just crazy.
That's kind of not a great legacy to be standing on at your presidential library. And when you, day one, sign an executive order shutting down energy from the Keystone Pipeline, again, not a real great thing to add to your resume. So I mentioned this earlier, but, both had landslide victories and, they defeated those single-term Democrat presidents, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would say that both of those Democrat presidents were largely rejected on similar policies: weak foreign policy, high cost of inflation, and an energy policy that just didn't make sense. I don't know if people forgot, but in the 70s, I can remember it. I wasn't driving at the time. I was too young. But I remember long gas lines and things like that because of what was happening with, the oil stuff with Iran. And, they had a whole hostage thing with Iran, with Jimmy Carter, very similar to what happened under the Biden administration with these hostages and all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
That somehow miraculously got resolved soon as their lame ass was headed out the door. Same thing with Jimmy Carter, same thing with Biden. Oh, hey, the new guy's coming in. They're going to whoop some ass. Guess what? We're going to release the hostages because we don't want to mess with America. But given the fact that you had 4 years of weak leadership, this is the kind of mayhem and shit that went on under these two presidents. So there's just a lot of similarities. In addition to that, with regard to Joe Biden, he took it another step beyond what Jimmy Carter did by supporting, again, a border policy that not only looked the other way regarding illegal immigration, but he actually invited people to enter into this country and then give them the things that he wouldn't even give to people who are on welfare, like hotel rooms and credit cards.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And he used his own Justice Department and a willing legacy media apparatus to target his political opponent.
Or money to another country instead of helping people in our country that, had
the billions of dollars to Ukraine. But yet we've got people in this country that are having issues that there isn't that level of support. So couple that with his obvious cognitive decline. I mean, what can you say about it, right? Given that impressive resume, it's no wonder that the Democrat establishment pulled the old switcheroo, pulled the rug out from under Joe at the last minute with Kamala.
It was not any better.
Well, she was better in this sense, Rebecca. She was better because she wasn't him.
Yeah.
And they tried very, very poorly to suggest to the American people that, hey, this is another breath of fresh air, and we can hide her for a certain amount of time, and we can project upon her this image of, competency. But every time she got in front of the mic and actually had to speak and everything, it just fell apart. And I'm just grateful that the American people were smart enough to see that and come out in the appropriate amount of numbers in the right amount of places. And that the RNC had their shit together well enough to know that, hey, you know what? Some shit happened in Michigan and Wisconsin and Pennsylvania last time. So guess what? We're going to put some poll watchers there like you've never seen before. And they're not going to do that shit again. They're not going to be pulling ballots out from underneath the table. And so Donald Trump swept the swing states, man. Imagine if they didn't put those people there. Do you think there would have been a sweep of the swing states? There would have been an absolute repeat of what happened last time. Somehow all the votes that vanished didn't show up this time.
Yeah.
So it's pretty clear, man. I don't know. Some people don't want to hear that. They don't want to see it, and they can't acknowledge it. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see how it goes from this point forward.
I have to say, he hasn't waited to
no.
get sworn in. He's just been proactive.
Yeah. And that's leadership. That's somebody who wants the job. He wants the work.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to see those lights on in the Oval Office early in the morning and late at night. Yeah. The dude's a workhorse. He's going to get shit done. And I'm interested to actually check the news when I get off this live stream to see what's actually gotten done. Because I guarantee you it's 180 degrees from what it's been.
Yeah, he's already been sitting down signing. I just saw kind of a clip of that, but haven't heard what it was that was all going on.
Yeah, I just hope we get some more answers. I hope his cabinet that he's selected or trying to assemble is going to get sworn in, and they can get to work, because I think that's what a lot of us have been expecting and hoping for years. Let's see. Bill Warner says that my wife actually uses a meth cloth material that allows her to carry multiples in a single bag for produce. That's a good idea for sure. I mean, we actually for a number of years switched over because they made it like against the law to have plastic bags here in California. And at first it was a pain in the ass, but after you get all your bags and then you just kind of get in the routine of taking your bags in when you go shop, they're actually nicer than the shitty bags they give you, and it's not really that big a deal. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with doing that, man. That's a good idea, Bill.
Well, that was also with COVID COVID too, they wouldn't bag your groceries. You had to buy bags and basically bag your own. Or you could use the plastic bags, but you still had to bag your own, and they were going to charge you for the bag, 10 cents for the bag.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't pay for bags. Yeah. I kind of understand that. Nancy ran the last couple of years because Reagan's cognitive decline.
Yes. She was always by his side because she was
I imagine she
making
had
things work.
I imagine she had a lot of good input, and she probably was an excellent first lady and took care of him very well. That's a kind of a sad thing, when people lose it like that. But, I don't know. It sucks when they lie to you and tell you, oh, no, he's 100%. And then allow him to ride the shit out for the next 6 months. He's not good enough to do this, but he's certainly good enough to continue getting aboard Air Force One and going to Angola. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, anyhow, I think we're going to probably wrap things up tonight, guys. It's kind of a lengthy live stream, a little disjointed, but a lot going on here at the homestead, and thought we'd share some of it and share some of our thoughts about the very momentous day today.
Yeah.
Right.
It was a busy day.
We
started pretty early.
Yeah, it was very busy, and we've still got dinner to do and such,
and I still have to feed some chickens.
Yeah, they're
going to all be in one coop.
Oh, they're going to be sleeping, so they can eat in the morning. But I wanted to leave you guys with this. Just it's a did you know? I pulled this off of Instagram. Couldn't get it off TikTok because TikTok, not a thing.
Still used today, and where they originated from. The term block originally referred to a solid piece of wood or a mold for hats as early as the 14th century. By the 1600s, block became slang for head, and the phrase knock his block off emerged in the late 19th to early 20th century, meaning to hit someone very hard, often in the head. Shebang was popularized during the American Civil War when soldiers referred to their makeshift shelters or entire camps as shebangs. Over time, the whole shebang came to signify the entire affair or situation. Square up likely originated in the 19th century within the boxing world, where boxers would square up by adopting a square stance to face an opponent directly before a match. The term later broadened to mean settling debts or preparing to confront something directly.
Yeah, very well. Once in a blue moon, what's this? Once in a blue moon, a plastic grocery bag comes in the house. Too much plastic used in food packaging. Yeah, we try to limit that as much as we can, I suppose. I'm not really that worried about plastic bags so much because they're kind of useful for doing other things,
Right.
But certainly
we're
cooking and microwaving and Teflon, and I don't try to get away from that shit. Cooking on anytime you add heat to plastic, it's probably gonna get in your food if you're using it. So try to go with stainless and cast iron and actual pans, and glass and stuff like that. But anywho, thanks again, guys. Thanks for joining us. And we are going to get out and hope to see you next week. But yeah, it's been fun.
Yes. Good evening.